what Tether is, why it's important to you, why it's important to global macroeconomics, the FUD about Tether, and why it's likely that the US government is actually going to sanction them and cause havoc for crypto. All right, so to start things off, we have to break down where Tether came from, what Tether is, and some of the background before we can get to why it's important today. So in 2014, the company was founded. It was filed in Hong Kong, and it was domiciled in the British Virgin Islands. And last year, it was actually more profitable than BlackRock. So that's why this is really important. Tether, or USDT, is the main liquidity provider across all crypto exchanges, aside from Bitcoin and Ethereum. It is the most liquid asset and is the largest stable coin, dollar-denominated stable coin in the world. And there's actually been a direct correlation between Tether being printed and Bitcoin's price, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. So it was the first ever stablecoin created, dollar denominated, and it was actually called Real Coin back when it was first put out, which is interesting to me because Ripple's stablecoin that they just released is ROUSD, or Real USD. Don't know if there's a correlation there or not, but you know, we'll see. So over its time frame, as it's grown in value, again, like I mentioned earlier, there's been almost a direct correlation into the amount of Tether that's been printed and Bitcoin's value. Now, correlation doesn't equal causation, right? So, but more liquidity in crypto would be available to be purchasing Bitcoin. And originally, they did purchase a bunch of Bitcoin to back the Tether. Now, over time, they diversified their holdings. So in 2018, they put out, that they kind of had an audit done, which wasn't a real audit back then. They've since been audited by a top 13 company globally. And, their reserves are much more transparent today than they were in the past. But they had commercial paper, they had dollar-denominated assets, U.S. treasuries, bonds, other things that were backing it. They were supposed to be a one-to-one for the amount of Tether that was printed versus the assets that they, had backing the Tether. I think that there was a large period of time where that wasn't necessarily the case, but, they made it through that, and they have come to the forefront again as the largest liquidity provider for crypto currently here in 2025 and early 2025. So the commercial paper that they had, a lot of people speculated that it was Evergrande or Chinese commercial paper. Being filed and founded there in Hong Kong, there's a high probability that some of the commercial paper that they were using was for that company or other large players in that area. But again, they have divested from that. And apparently, the majority of their backing at this point is U.S. treasuries. They are currently the 5th largest institutional holder of U.S. treasuries and the 19th largest holder if you include sovereign governments. So China, Japan, other players in that sector. Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway are the #1 institutional player, holding north of $286 billion